broader and related terms. So
that's inside the mind of librarians.
not really. I don't know if I can say that.
Or whoever
We
constructs
like the thesaurus.
yeah.
We like the thesaurus, and we hope that you like it too and use it.
It's very helpful because then you have a sense if you're missing some literature by using their, aligning your terminology with the language of the database.
And one of the things to keep in mind is that newer research, newer trends, newer systems are not necessarily going to be represented by the thesaurus terms because it takes a certain amount of research published in a field to kind of hit this critical mass where they develop a term for the thesaurus. So, for example, someone wanted information on RTI. There's not going to be a thesaurus term on RTI. It's too specific and it's newer. So just keep that in mind when you're searching that there's not, if it's something really new, there might not be a great thesaurus term for it. Okay.
Are there specific databases you recommend for what we're doing? I know you mentioned Eric, but in this.
Yeah, and I can ask you maybe find out a little bit more about your topic, but on the third page I have 3 of the main indexes. So I've got Eric, Psych Info, and PubMed, but it does depend somewhat on your topic. And
I often use Kate Academic Search Premier
okay.
because it combines a couple as a starting point.
She said Academic Search Premier. So the difference between Eric, Psych Info, and PubMed and something like Academic Search Premier or Education Reference Complete or Psych Articles is one is full text database and one is an index. So an index like these 3 covers more of the literature, but it's not necessarily in full text in this database. It's kind of the place you go if you're doing an extensive literature review and you want to find out as much as you can about what's been published in that particular field. If you're going into something like Academic Search Premier or Psych Articles, it's going to be a more limited subset of the what's been published in that field. So for example, Psych Info indexes over 2,400 journals. So it's providing you information on articles that were published in over 2,400 journals. If you look at Psych Articles, which is a full text database, I think it covers 70 journals. So it's just different coverage. So again, indexes cover more, but they don't necessarily have the full text. So again, those were the 3 that I kind of pulled out based on the topics I thought you might have. But we can go around in a little bit when you're working and I can see if there's something that would be more useful. When you're on the library website, hopefully you know where to go to get databases, but in case you don't, you have to go to this Articles and Databases blue tab, and then you can either go to the A to Z list or the list by subject. So A to Z, as you would guess, lists all the databases that the library subscribes to, so there's over 100. And we also list a couple things here that are not necessarily subscription databases, but they're things that would be useful for research. So for example, I think that the AIDS info is a government website. Yeah, so it ends in .gov. But most of the resources you'll see listed here are subscription proprietary databases, which means, again, out of your tuition dollars, the library has purchased subscriptions to all these different resources for you. So when you're on campus, you would have immediate access to them, but if you're off campus, you would be required to log in with your net ID and your password so that they know you're affiliated with you. And so if you know the specific database to go to, you can just go to A to Z, but if you're not sure, you can go under one of these subject areas. So if I go under counselor education, there's a smaller subset of databases. that are relevant to that area. And one of the things that can also help when you're searching if you find too few results is to search somewhere else. So unfortunately, there's not one resource you can search and find everything there is out there in your topic. So you want to search in more than one place, more than one database. Are there any questions about the specific databases that the library has or these particular indexes, these two that I just mentioned? Okay. Well, one of the things that your classmate pointed out is that a literature review can be helpful for finding finding different research in the area and also pointing you in new directions. So one of the things that people do a lot, and we've probably done this already, is look at the reference list of an article that you find. So maybe you find one key article on your topic, and you can look at the reference list, who they cited when they wrote their research, and go to those articles. And so that's kind of tracking backwards, right? You're seeing who they cited. So the other step is going forward. So you find a key article and you want to know, since it was written, who has cited it. So there's a couple ways you can do that. And in some databases, they're adding this feature. So for example, in PsycInfo, they're starting to add this. But the two resources that are most used are Web of Knowledge, Web of Science, and Google Scholar. So I have an article on the top of the 4th page. And if I wanted to know, okay, who has cited this article? I would go to the articles and databases, and it's databases A to Z, and I have the name of it listed there. It's called Web of Knowledge, Web of Science. Have any of you used this one before? So this is also an index. So you could search this like you search, PsycInfo, Eric PubMed to find research on a topic. But one of the ways people use it is for what they call the cited reference search. So if I click on the cited reference search, I need to tell the system what I'm looking for. So I want this article by Decky, and I need to know where it was published. So it was published in the Journal of Higher Education. And I'm required to use an abbreviation, which I don't know, so I can look it up.
How did you get to that page?
So I got here by this link,
Oh, thanks.
journal abbreviation. So I need to select that, and then I can look up the journal. And one of the reasons that this doesn't work for everybody is because not every journal is covered. So if the journal's not covered, you're not going to be able to get the data on who cited the article. So this is the author, this is where it was published. And oftentimes it's good to leave off the author's name, the first name or the first initial, because in different databases it's listed differently. Like sometimes they'll just use an initial, sometimes they'll use the first name. So this looks like what I want. We have the right author, the right journal, the right year it was published, 1999, and then based on the citation, that's the right information, right? It starts on page 235. So I would say view the record. So right now what I'm seeing is information on this particular article that I was looking at. And this is where I'd want to go, the time cited. So references means that this particular article referenced 70 other articles, but time cited means that 9 people have cited this article since it was written. So if I click on the 9, then I see those 9 articles which obviously are going to be related in some way because they're building upon the work of what this author did. And the other resource I mentioned was Google Scholar. And let me open that up. And I think a lot of people use this, or